said, "Yeah, him and Bronny are twins, and nobody knows it. Me and Savannah have been trying to keep this under wraps for a long time." LeBron James finally weighed in on the rumors about Will Anderson Jr., and what he said left fans speechless. The joke blew up online, but now everyone is asking why LeBron even mentioned Will Anderson Jr. in the first place. It was the courtside interaction that literally broke the internet. It's Friday night, May 2nd, 2026. We're in the Toyota Center in Houston, where the Lakers are facing the Rockets in Game 6 of a heated first-round playoff series, and the energy in this place is off the charts. Houston has to win to stay alive. The Lakers want to end it tonight and punch their ticket to the second round. And there, sitting courtside like he runs the building, is one of the NFL's most dominant defenders, Texan star Will Anderson Jr. Now look, the guy is just there to watch a game in his city, rooting for the home team and just enjoying the night. But a 41-year-old LeBron James looked like he jumped in a time machine back to 2013. In the first half alone, he dropped 18 points and dished out 5 assists, shooting 50% from the floor and hitting 2 of 4 from behind the arc. He was absolutely dismantling the Rockets' defense. Meanwhile, his supporting cast stepped up big time. Rui Hachimura was on fire from deep, finishing the night with 21 points and 6 rebounds. He also drained 5 3-pointers. Every single time Houston made a run, Rui was there to shut the door. And then you had DeAndre Ayton, the big fella, finally delivering the performance the Lakers had been waiting for all season. Look, we've all been waiting for this from DeAndre Ayton. He needed to show up for the Lakers, and in Game 6, he was a monster. His rebounding was relentless, his defense was perfect, and he single-handedly neutralized Houston's biggest advantage in the paint. Marcus Smart was a defensive anchor, completely locking down rookie Reed Shepherd, holding him to just 1 for 10 shooting from the field. It was a masterclass by the Lakers, and Houston simply had no answers. The Rockets' young core just couldn't find a rhythm. Alperen Sengun, Amen Thompson, Reed Shepherd, and Jabari Smith Jr. shot a combined miserable 19 for 56. The team scored just 78 points, their lowest playoff total in franchise history, while shooting a brutal 18% from 3. That's not just bad offense. That's a public meltdown. The Lakers cruised to a 98-78 win, setting up a second-round showdown with the Oklahoma City Thunder. But while the final score tells part of the story, the real drama was unfolding on the sideline. It all kicked off in the third quarter when LeBron made a move to the basket for what looked like an easy layup. This is where it gets interesting. LeBron drives hard to the rim, goes up for the finish, and the Rockets' Jabari Smith Jr. flies in for the block. LeBron hits the deck hard near the baseline, and for a terrifying second, the entire arena went silent. Remember, the man is 41 years old. You never want to see a player go down like that, especially not the king. But before LeBron could even get his bearings, this huge figure stands up from his courtside seat and offers him a hand. He helps him back to his feet. That man was Will Anderson Jr., the all-pro defensive end for the Texans. The instant they made eye contact, the entire sports world leaned in closer to their screens. Because if you've been online at all, you know exactly why. The insane resemblance between Will Anderson Jr. and LeBron's son, Bronny, has been one of the biggest running jokes on the internet for years. And suddenly, there they were, face to face, live on national TV for millions to see. Now, before we break this down, you have to understand the meme's origin story. This comparison between Will and Bronny has been all over social media for months, some people would say for years. Fans have been dropping side-by-side photos forever, highlighting the similar facial structure, the smile, the athletic build, the whole 9 yards. People started joking that LeBron had a secret son. The conspiracy theories on Twitter were absolutely out of control. Anderson had even been asked about it before, always laughing it off and saying he didn't see the resemblance. But the internet had already made up its mind. They had decided these two were long-lost twins, and that was that. So, when Anderson reached down to help LeBron up from the floor, everybody watching at home knew this was the moment. The internet meme had just crossed over into reality, and LeBron, being the master of the moment that he is, was never going to let this opportunity slide. In the post-game press conference, reporters mobbed LeBron in the locker room. They started with the obvious basketball questions. The Lakers had advanced. They'd just become the first father-son duo in the history of the NBA to win a playoff series on the same team. That in itself is an incredible story. But then a reporter from the Houston Chronicle, Jonathan Alexander, asked the one question that everybody in that room was dying to ask. He asked LeBron about the moment with Will Anderson Jr., and what happened next is why this story completely exploded. LeBron took a beat, flashed that signature smile, and delivered a line with the timing of a world-class comedian. He said, "What was the moment like? The moment was pretty cool." Yeah, I just said, it was good to see him, That's my fourth child. I swear the entire room must have erupted. In a single sentence, LeBron just adopted an NFL All-Pro live on camera. He didn't avoid the question or give a generic, boring answer about respecting another great athlete. Not at all. He leaned right into the internet joke, and then he doubled down on it. Yeah, him and Bronny are twins, and don't nobody know it. Me and Savannah have been trying to keep it under wraps for a long time. I mean, that is pure comedic genius. The man essentially confirmed every wild theory the internet had come up with, and he did it with a perfectly straight face. He played it off like he and Savannah had been hiding a secret for years. Of course, this is LeBron James, so he quickly shifted gears to make sure no one took it the wrong way or was disrespectful to Anderson's actual family. He added, but no disrespect to his parents, maybe not his real father, but he's an unbelievable football player, deserving of everything that he's got. And that right there, that's the difference between a star athlete and a generational icon, a cultural figure. LeBron knew exactly how to play this, leaning into the joke without crossing any lines. He acknowledged the resemblance, gave Anderson his props as one of the best defenders in the NFL, and he even respected the young man's actual parents. It was a masterclass in handling internet culture. That clip went viral almost instantly. Lakers Nation tweeted it, ESPN ran with it, Bleacher Report had it. Every single major sports outlet had their own take on it. Anderson himself hopped on Instagram stories, posting the video with a simple caption, "A freaking legend." Then, the Houston Texans official social media accounts got in on the fun, reposting LeBron's comments right next to that classic Spider-Man pointing meme. The one where they see each other. And the entire internet was loving it. Honestly, how could you not? You have two of the biggest young black athletes in their respective sports, both at the absolute peak of their physical prime, sharing a courtside moment that pretty much confirmed what all the meme accounts had been saying. It was perfect, it was wholesome, it was hilarious, and it was a much-needed break from an intense playoff run. But there's another layer here, and this part makes the whole story even more interesting. Both Anderson and LeBron are represented by Clutch Sports, the agency that Rich Paul founded with LeBron years ago. So, these two weren't just random superstars in the same building. There is a real professional connection right there. And we all know about LeBron's well-documented love for football. It's not a stretch to think he was already tracking Anderson's career in Houston. But the meme itself, the joke about them being twins, that was clearly something LeBron couldn't wait to address the second he saw him. Because when you have that real-life encounter, you basically have to say something about it. Otherwise, you're just leaving pure comedic gold on the table. And let me tell you, LeBron James does not leave comedic gold on the table. So let's get inside the mind of Will Anderson Jr. All right, now that we've covered the moment that set the internet on fire, we have to zoom out and really talk about Will Anderson Jr. Because if you're not a huge NFL fan, you might be asking who this guy is and why this crossover with LeBron is such a big deal. Let me break it down for you. Will Anderson Jr. is not just some random defensive end. He is, right now, one of the most feared pass rushers in the entire National Football League. This is a guy who came in as the number 3 overall pick in the 2023 draft from Alabama. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year his very first season. He has multiple Pro Bowls and All-Pro honors. And in April 2026, just before that LeBron moment, he signed a record-breaking 3-year, $150 million contract extension. That made him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league at that time. That is the kind of money that buys generational wealth. It's the kind of deal that says you are the foundation of a franchise. To understand how he got here, you have to understand who Will Anderson Jr. is at his core. He's a leader, a mentor, and a guy who truly cares about the people around him. Give credit to his God first, but really my grandmother who passed away, my dad's mom, Anderson has always been very open about the fact that his foundation is built on family and faith. He talks about his grandmother with such deep respect, explaining how she'd treat total strangers like she knew them for 20 years. And that taught him how to navigate the world with love and authenticity. He says that's the impact he's always tried to have on people. Like, bro, just keep a smile on your face. And if you've seen Anderson with teammates or fans, you can tell it's real. That is not just talk. This man genuinely lives that out every single day. Even when he's sacking quarterbacks for a living, that smile is right there. But don't let that friendly personality fool you. Because once Anderson gets on that football field, a switch just flips. He says for him, it's about love. I have for my craft all the hard work that I put in the offseason. The grind, the blood, sweat, and tears. Man, he turns into a different animal. And a lot of that intensity, believe it or not, actually comes from having 5 older sisters growing up. My sisters were rough. Like, you hear sisters, you think of fairy tales and dolls and stuff. Like, no, I got so many bruises on my body, everything. So while most kids played with toys, young Will was getting tossed around the yard, playing one-on-one basketball, and getting pushed around. He was learning how to fight for every single inch. He actually took something different from each sister. From China, he got tenacity. From Chinese, he got leadership. From India, he learned his calmness and smoothness. You can see all those traits blended together in his game right now. But football wasn't even his first passion. He says, "My mom and I tell people all the time, I sucked when I first started playing. I was out there in the grass." His mom basically had to force him to play just to channel all that energy. And at first, the kid was just rolling around in the grass, picking flowers instead of focusing. But everything shifted in high school when a new coach came in from South Georgia and changed his entire life in one single brutal moment. The coach told him, "Man, you weak. You don't need to be down here." Will said he just burst out crying. That moment, getting called weak in front of his teammates in the weight room, it broke something open inside of him. And out of that brokenness, the relentless competitor we see today was forged. He said, "I just flipped the switch and didn't look back since then." That is the moment Will Anderson Jr. truly became who he is. Then came Alabama, where the legend really began to build. And playing for Nick Saban is a whole different kind of test. Anderson talks about it like a guy who survived a war and came out the other side even stronger. Bama's not for everybody. It takes a certain type of understanding and mentality to go through, what you have to go through from there. But Saban also let Anderson see a side of coaching that very few people on the outside ever get a glimpse of. It's a side many people miss, coaching, but we get to see that on a daily basis. That relationship between them became something truly special. And one of Anderson's favorite memories, let's talk about the day Saban stopped using his number and started using his name. For any player, that's a defining moment. He said he almost freaked out. For a freshman in Tuscaloosa, that's like getting knighted. It's how you know you finally earned the man's respect. But his time at Alabama wasn't all glory. Anderson is one of the few elite athletes who openly discusses the darker times he experienced in college. He'll say, "Other than that, man, life has been great." Yet he also described his junior year as one of the deepest, darkest times he ever went through. And the reason? He was listening to the outside noise, letting other people's expectations completely weigh him down. That's a huge thing to admit, especially for a guy who, by every single metric, was absolutely crushing it on the field. He had double-digit sacks, double-digit tackles for a loss. But because the stats weren't matching his previous season, he felt like he wasn't doing enough. That kind of mental honesty is incredibly rare. You just don't see it in pro sports, and it speaks volumes about who Will Anderson is. When the Texans drafted him 3rd overall in 2023, he joined a franchise that was desperate for a rebuild. New head coach DeMeco Ryans was setting the tone, looking for a cornerstone player, and Anderson immediately bought into the vision. He talks about the culture they were building with a fierce sense of ownership, saying, "For me, my biggest thing is changing the culture." For him, the culture means everybody is on an equal playing field. It doesn't matter who you are, the quarterback, the head coach, the general manager, or the equipment manager, you matter equally. That exact mindset is why the Texans defense became one of the scariest units in football. Anderson completely fell in love with playing for DeMeco. He said, "This is the type of vibe that I need from a coach at this next level." From their very first pre-draft meeting, he knew DeMeco was different. The man was just built for that moment. He was relaxed, confident, and more interested in talking about life than just the X's and O's. That foundation built one of the most dominant defenses. The Texans built their entire identity around a single word: swarm. Anderson says, "Yeah, we're very close. I think the most important thing about our room is everybody enjoys seeing everybody make plays and eat. Anderson and his fellow defensive end, Danielle Hunter, have formed one of the best edge rushing duos in football. The two of them combined for 27 sacks during one stretch of their partnership. And their dynamic in the locker room is something special. Here's Hunter on Anderson's nickname. Will's nickname is, he's the Terminator. The Terminator. That's how Hunter describes him. The guy who finishes every single play, no matter what it takes. Any kind of play, he says, if anybody misses anything, you can count on Will to come out there and just finish it off. But the brotherhood between them goes way beyond sack numbers. They genuinely elevate each other. And Anderson's hand technique has become legendary. The work he puts in behind the scenes is what separates him from other elite pass rushers. That move, the stab forklift, is his signature. Offensive tackles spend hours preparing for it and still can't stop him. He's added so much power that linemen now overcommit, opening up his speed. It opens up his counters. The man is a chess player on the gridiron, always thinking 2 moves ahead. That's the kind of football IQ that builds legends. That's what turns a great player into Hall of Fame talent. Now, every superstar has a little controversy, right? Anderson's no exception, though his is pretty tame. After the Texans' 23-4 playoff loss to the Chiefs in January 2025, Anderson made headlines for a postgame. Quote, he told reporters that Houston felt like they were playing against the refs from the start. Unsurprisingly, the NFL came down on him for it. They hit him with a $25,000 fine for criticizing officials, but Anderson appealed, and the fine was fully rescinded in February 2025. A similar fine given to teammate Joe Mixon was also rescinded. Outside of that, the man has 0 arrests, 0 suspensions, and 0 off-field issues. Absolutely 0 scandals. He is as clean as it gets for a young superstar in pro sports. So when LeBron James publicly adopts you as his 4th child on national television, you know that joke lands on a guy with a sterling reputation. But this brings us to Bronny James and a story about heart. Let's go back to July 24th, 2023. Bronny was just 18 years old, an incoming freshman at the University of Southern California. He was working out during a summer practice when, out of nowhere, he collapsed. His heart stopped. He went into cardiac arrest right there on the basketball court. It's the kind of terrifying moment that freezes time for everyone watching. Thankfully, USC's medical staff was prepared. They jumped into action instantly, using CPR and an AED. They got him stabilized before rushing him to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. And Dr. Monteleon, a cardiologist who broke down the situation publicly, made a crucial point we all need to hear. This is the 100% difference between someone coming through this and having a great outcome. The fast response, an available AED, and people around him who knew CPR, those things are the reason Bronny James is alive today. Doctors quickly found that Bronny had a previously undetected congenital heart defect. And here's the thing, this is the exact scenario that terrifies parents of young athletes everywhere. Dr. Monteleon explained it perfectly. He said, one is something we call hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's a change in the heart muscle that's most commonly congenital. These are conditions young athletes can be born with and have no idea. They can go undetected for years, then in the middle of intense physical activity, they suddenly reveal themselves in the worst possible way. Now, Bronny was lucky. He was in a place with the right resources. But the lesson here is critical. The takeaway from that moment was crystal clear. Every gym, every practice facility, every school needs to be prepared for this exact scenario. His recovery, though, is where Bronny really showed the world his character. He underwent corrective surgery, leaving him with a 6-inch scar on his chest, down his chest. And by late November of 2023, just 4 months after his heart literally stopped, he got the all clear to return to the court. He played 25 games for USC that freshman season, averaging about 5 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. Now, the numbers were modest. Sure, but the fact that he was even on the court was the real story. Then in 2024, the Lakers used the 55th overall pick to draft him, bringing him onto the same roster as his father, making LeBron and Bronny the first active father-son duo in NBA history. That is a story Hollywood couldn't script. His rookie season from 2024 to 2025 was modest on purpose. Bronny spent most of his time developing in the G League with the South Bay Lakers, putting up much more impressive numbers down there, dropping about 15 to 22 points per game. At the NBA level, he saw action in 27 games, averaging 2.3 points. But this season, his second year, the kid showed some real flashes. Through 42 games, his shooting jumped to nearly 41% from the field, almost 39% from three, and 86% at the line. His role got bigger as injuries hit the Lakers, and then came the playoffs. Bronny made his NBA playoff debut in the 2026 postseason during that exact same series against the Houston Rockets that we opened this story with. The question for Bronny was simple. What was that incredible sequence like? Hitting your first playoff three, then getting an alley-oop from your dad. The kid hit his first ever playoff three, then connected with his father on an alley-oop, making them the first father-son duo to record an assist in NBA playoff history. He said, it was a great experience for me. I just gotta, take that and build on it. Talk about a full circle moment. From cardiac arrest at 18 to scoring in the playoffs at 21, right beside his father on one of basketball's biggest stages. And then you had the praise from his dad. After the Lakers beat the Rockets, LeBron was asked about Bronny's play. And his response really showed how seriously he takes this whole journey with his son. Just greatness. It's all we can ask for. He's been all we need, and he's been a great source of defense and offense. You can just hear that fatherly pride in his voice. Now, contrast that with how Bronny talks about playing alongside his dad. It's clear the young man has been a student of LeBron's game his entire life. I've been watching him for however long, and I kind of picked up on his tendencies, and that lifelong study session has paid off. IQ isn't, going to be far from behind him. So I feel like I picked up on things that he's doing. The chemistry between them isn't just a storyline, it's a real asset on the court. I literally watched his whole career, and now I'm a part of it. So it's a crazy experience. And it's not just a feel-good story. Bronny's appreciation for it all is genuine. The internet, of course, has absolutely run wild with comparisons ever since LeBron dropped that joke. Fans and meme accounts have been having a field day debating the whole better son thing. Some folks point to Anderson's massive $150 million contract and his all-pro dominance. Others point to Bronny's resilience, his bloodline, and his slow but steady rise in the NBA. Of course, none of it's serious. Anderson and Bronny clearly have mutual respect. Anderson called LeBron a freaking legend on his Instagram stories. The whole thing is just peak internet culture, all fueled by a striking resemblance and a perfectly timed encounter. But it does bring up an interesting point about being an athlete today. Navigating fame in 2026 is fundamentally different than it used to be. You have to engage with memes. You have to interact with internet culture. And the ones who do it well, the players who can laugh at themselves and lean into a joke without losing their cool, those are the guys who become bigger than their sport. LeBron James understands this perfectly. He didn't have to address the Will Anderson Jr. thing. He could have given a generic answer and moved on, but he chose to embrace it with a smile. He turned a slightly awkward moment into one of the most viral post-game quotes of the entire 2026 NBA playoffs. And that's the LeBron blueprint. Stay graceful, stay funny, stay humble, but never miss a chance to remind everyone why. You've been the face of basketball for 2 decades. Will Anderson Jr. probably went home that night thinking about just how wild his life has become. From a kid getting called weak in a weight room, to being the number 3 pick, to all-pro status, to a record-breaking contract, and then having LeBron James pretty much adopt him on national television. That is quite a story arc. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click on one of the boxes you see on your screen now to watch more stories just like this.